He's present for the Cincinnati Bengals. And Mike Brown, the owner of the team, made it clear yesterday he's not getting a new contract this year. And you couple that with, I want to find the quote. Mike Brown was also discussing T. Higgins' status. T. Higgins is subject to the franchise tag. He's making $21.8 million this year. Said Mike Brown when discussing T. Higgins, the pie is not going to grow. I'll stop right there. Of course it's going to grow. The pie grows every single year. The pie never stops growing. The cap keeps going up and up and up. And it is for the team to figure out how to make it work. Brown also blamed their situation on the fact that they've got a quarterback who's making a significant amount of money. Disproportionate piece of the pie. When you have to pay the quarterback a big contract, that takes a disproportionate piece of the pie. Well, that applies to everybody. Other teams have quarterbacks who are taking, I don't know that it's disproportionate, and I doubt that Joe Burrow's cap number this year is disproportionate. This is just justification for, frankly, being cheap. And we thought the Bengals were past that. We thought once they realized, hey, we just kind of stumbled into a pretty good team here, thanks to having the first overall pick in 2019 or 2020, and refusing any potential trade overtures, even though it would have been smart to take at least a look at whatever the Dolphins are willing to do. No, this is our guy. And it worked. Burrow's great. Jamar Chase the next year, top 10 pick. He's great. You got to pay great players. Now, if Chase is fine with it, so be it. You know, last year, Justin Jefferson didn't get a new contract in Minnesota, but the Vikings at least tried. This is Mike Brown slamming the door for now on a new contract for Jamar Chase, telling him you have to play this fourth year of your rookie contract, period. We'll talk about it next year. And because Chase has shown up, it's so much harder to do anything about it as a player once you show up. I don't want to get into the weeds of the CBA. It's easier, as the CBA is written, to hold out than it is to show up and say, sorry, I'm out. I remember when, I think it was DeAndre Hopkins one year with the Texans, showed up and then left. And it was like, no, he didn't leave. Because they can, there's a way the dominoes fall, shut you down for the whole year if they want to. It's kind of an extreme option that doesn't really help the team, but it reminds the players who's boss. And sometimes the teams like to do that. And Mike Brown is essentially making it clear to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and everyone else who's boss, who controls the purse strings, even if the argument is disingenuous, and even if this makes it harder for the Bengals to hold a great team together in an effort to try to win Super Bowls. Because, look, there's salary cap, and then there's actual cash spending. I haven't done the research on this. I'd like to see how close to the cap the Bengals have been under the 2011 rookie wage scale and moving forward. Have they been spending to the cap? Have they been scrambling to get to the spending floor? This is a small market, lower revenue team that really up until a year or two ago didn't sell the naming rights to their stadium. This is a team that has the potential to be a high-end contender year in and year out. And I think this team is willing to say, we got Joe Burrow and will otherwise fill out the roster around him with these low-cost 4-year contract draft picks, 5 years if it's a first-rounder. And in Burrow, we trust. And if that means Jamar Chase leaves eventually, so be it. If that means T. Higgins leaves after 1 year of the franchise tag, so be it. And the Bengals, since the franchise tag was first put in place in the early 90s, they've only ever signed one franchise tag player to a new contract. That was Carl Pickens, and they cut him after 1 year. No player franchise tagged by the Bengals has been there for more than 1 year, although Michael Johnson came back later after he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But that franchise tag usually means that's your last year. T. Higgins, it's his last year. And for whatever reason, Jamar Chase is willing to play that game. Others wouldn't be willing to play that game, but Chase is. So I guess good for the Bengals this year, but it's a sign that it might be difficult for this team to be truly elite over the balance of Joe Burrow's career. And now if they have him signed up long-term, what's he going to do about it? What's he going to do? he could make his displeasure known. And he could have Mike Brown say to him, well, your contract's the problem. And he needs to be willing to push back and say, it's really not the problem you think it is. You're just using that as justification to be cheap with Jamar Chase and maybe other players who will be due for contracts. And the Bengals will say, we'll draft somebody else. And that player will be better than he might be elsewhere because he's playing with Joe Burrow. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.